non-official phones. Newsroom, Greg Kruger, Fox 26 News.
Well, hello, everyone. It's me, Rashi. I appreciate you joining us for this live stream this Tuesday, September the 12th. You might hear some background noise just because people are recording things. And some good news. I will not be doing this from my desk. We have a podcast room. So pretty soon we'll be going into the podcast room and doing things there because, we're doing all things digital and live and everything non-broadcast. So, you want to make the look a lot better than, my desk. So anyway, I appreciate you all joining us. And this topic that we're talking about, it was so surprising to me. I did the story yesterday, and you're going to hear from Rania, who is the CEO of Crime Stoppers, and you've seen her on our air before. And I also was introduced to Jennifer Homan, who does some phenomenal work with advocating for victims of sex trafficking, child sex trafficking specifically, happening here in the Houston area. And I was just so astonished by what she is seeing and also by the trends that Ronnie is seeing. So we will be talking with both of them. Now, both of them do have a podcast that has been going on for a while now, and they have picked it back up. So 10 a.m. on Wednesdays. There they are, and they're here live for us today. Isn't that cool? I know. Amazing. Here she is, Ronnie and Jennifer. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi, Rashi. Thank you for having us.
Yes, there's so much going on. And Jennifer, you are, you have a bunch of titles, but for the purposes of this live stream, you're also part of the Crime Stoppers board. And I do want to talk just briefly about your big gala that's coming up, because it's always a highlight and also just a great time where the community gets to see exactly what you all have done at Crime Stoppers and what you continue to do. So if you both want to talk about it, I had the flyer available right here for you. Yeah. So this year, is the gala. It's happening October 12th. So what are some of the highlights that you can tell me about? Because I know that you're chairing it, Jennifer, and your husband.
I am, but I'm going to let Rania tell those highlights. She's been working on it the most. Actually, I just feel blessed and honored to be a part of it. So Rania, tell us what everybody's going to experience so that they'll buy tickets and tables to come and see what's going on.
Yes, we really do hope the community will go to crime-stoppers.org to look at tickets, tables, make a donation, support the gala in any way you can. But we obviously noticed that Sound of Freedom has been a huge film and really impacted the Houston community. We've always want to have compelling conversation at these galas. And so one of my colleagues at the office, Mimi Zaranchansky, said, you know what? We should invite Mira Servino to attend the gala. I said, it's a great idea. And so we reached out to Mira Servino, their team. She said yes right away. We're going to have a moderated conversation with Mira. Mira is, very well known. She's a UNO DC Goodwill ambassador on trafficking, on the fight against human trafficking. She's been in this space for over 20 years and done significant work. We'll also be honoring Goya Cares and Bob Unanue, CEO of Goya, because they were, part producers of the film and have done a tremendous amount of work in the fight against human trafficking. You can't really talk about human trafficking in the city of Houston without bringing Jennifer Homan involved, and she's on our board. She's the co-host of our podcast, The Balanced Voice, and obviously works very, very closely with Goya Cares. And was involved too in some of the back end work of the film. So it's really full circle. Our events really always stick to the mission. And if you have an interest in this topic and conversation or want to see Mira Servino, please join us on the 12th.
That's awesome. And I'm so glad you guys are starting the podcast again. It's so, I would tell you from a news angle, we always are talking about crime and Crime Stoppers and how how people can help and all of that. That really is just a portion of what the organization does. I mean, the community outreach and the education is huge, which is really the catalyst for why I'm doing the segment that I'm doing right now, because of what you're seeing. So first off, I was going to ask you, Rania, you can tell me what specifically you're seeing when it comes to young boys currently being targeted here in Houston and surrounding areas.
Yeah, and Rashi, we talk about public safety every day. We're in the schools all year round, and that includes during summer activities with children. I have never quite seen a trend like what I'm seeing now. Basically, what we're finding is boys, mainly boys, being blackmailed online, or particularly through social media apps or while gaming. And what's really unique about it is there's the traditional where they have a love interest and a picture and kind of entice the boys to respond with an inappropriate photo. But more shockingly, what we're seeing is this move for predators to talk to boys and make them think we're just friends, hey, take a picture, nothing weird, nothing gross, don't be weird. And the boys take a photo, and that photo is then manipulated and used as blackmail. And the boys are being exploited in record numbers. And this is what I'm finding.
Wow. Well, I have Miss Villarreal, who has a question here for you. Can you use AI to protect our youth?
So here's the thing. AI can be used in technology like Bark, which is a parent monitoring device using third-party technology to look at Snapchat and Instagram and try to figure out what words, and I'm sorry you hear my little puppy in the background, I apologize. But AI can be used to that end, but it's never foolproof because kids can always circumvent technology and the efforts that, technology is doing to protect our children. Kids are very, very advanced and somehow get around it. So yes, we can use, AI and certainly parent monitoring devices, things of that nature, but a better approach is to talk to children and get their buy-in on safety.
I got to say, just AI in general is so cool, yet so scary at the same time for all aspects of, I think, I can't speak business wise. I know maybe Jennifer, you can, but I think AI, like they were even talking about AI anchors, AI reporters, AI used for resumes. And I know Fort Bend County, the school district has implemented where the actual teachers have to go through training to train for Chat GPT because kids are using that for their schoolwork. And then resumes also are being like one person, a colleague of mine, their brother was saying how they used AI to help get them into law school, which is just like, it's scary because you don't know if it's the real person or not.
You don't. And I know that in a lot of schools, they're making the students sign promissory notes, not promissory notes, but these honor system notes that they will not be using AI to do their homework or basically cheat. And here's the tough thing. My kids will say, but it's helpful. Well, okay, it is helpful to some degree, but is it really helpful? Do you know what content you're really pulling? You're not learning how to learn. You're not learning how to investigate and study and research. You're relying on this crutch. We don't fully understand it. And it could also be opening you up to some harm. So like all technology, advancements are wonderful and they have a lot of positive, obviously upsides to it, but there's also a lot of negative, and that's what we have to be talking to our children about.
Yes, definitely. And Jennifer, I know in the business world, AI is also being integrated in many levels as well.
Yeah, it is. And it's a benefit, and obviously it's a crutch. If you look at large language modeling that's going on, you look at text and the images that can be produced and what we can do with that with facial recognition. It's also our biggest armor to protecting our kids and figuring out when they do go missing or if something's going on, using that technology to find them as well. So it's both the benefit and something that is evil. It can be used for evil. So I think we all have to just have conversations with our kids, teach them how to use it properly, as well as in the business world. So you just have to have a good, logical, pragmatic approach to using it.
Yeah, definitely. And David, thank you for your comment. Open communication is the key. And it really is at the end of the day.
Yes.
What you have to do.
Totally.
and make sure that your child is comfortable telling you things.
And I just
go ahead.
interject there. Open communication is such a key. We talk to parents all the time, and when I wrap up the presentation, they always say, "But how do I talk to my children about these dangers?" And I'd say, "Well, why don't you start by talking about the good things?" I have had moments where I've literally sat during the day and Googled trending videos for 11-year-old girls on TikTok and found funny stuff that's trending, so that when my daughter gets in the car, I say, "Oh my gosh, did you see that really funny video on TikTok?" And she's like, "Mom, yes, did you see the video?" I said, "Yeah, of course, it's hysterical." So we start
So cool. I know.
I know, I'm so cool. Meanwhile,
Well, you're bridging a gap, right? They
Yeah.
think you're so decrepit and archaic and don't know what's going on in the world, that when you build a bridge or a common language with them and know what they're going through, they'll start to trust you. A,
Yeah.
they'll feel safe. B, they'll start to trust you, and they'll start to share more with you. And
Yes.
that's extremely important.
It is. And I have to just say also that, you know, in my world, we talk about a lot of tragic events that are happening around the world. And I just wanted to share real quick, my, at the time, 5-year-old saw, I was very kind of distraught and just not happy and stuff. It was the war in Ukraine and what was happening there. And I was doing a lot of local stories and how it was affecting some local families. Anyway, he just said, "Why are you so sad?" And you know, he saw something on TV because I was watching what was going on in the latest. And a psychologist, I had talked to them, a child psychologist, because my child may see more of this just because I am in the news. And she said the best thing to do is not to like shun that away, but to talk to them age appropriately. So I had the conversation at 5 that there's some not nice people in the world doing some things to some people who, you know, are trying to escape those people. And so, and it was just like in his face, he's just trying to understand, like, how are there bad people in the world? You know, so it's because you're coming from such an innocent, you know, pure
perspective.
But
right.
you know, but then you find that they understand too, because
Yes.
they, you know, like, I mean, there was Gargamel and the Smurfs when we were kids. Like, there's
Yeah.
always something you can relate it to that's not necessarily scary, but
Right.
that helps your children put it into perspective and start
Mhm.
having open and honest conversations in, you know, an age appropriate way. And
Can I just tell you that you just triggered me, because they used to call me Smurf when I was a kid because I'm only 4'11". I'm like so short. So I'm just like, okay, there was a trauma. I was emotional when you just said that.
Didn't mean to do that, Jennifer.
So no, it's okay. But those are the types of conversations. Ranya's right? We had the evil bad people, the stranger danger.
Yes.
And you just need to have those conversations. You know, Rania, today I used an analogy, ladies, that I remember when you were, and this is what I want parents to think back and capture on and go back to. Remember when you were 15 years old, and back in our day, we wanted to get our permit and our driver's license immediately. Like we were like, I want it right now. It gives me freedom. Imagine, a parent needs to imagine themselves when they were 15 years old. Imagine if your parent had said, okay, you know what? Go on to this, you know, the I-10 is a 22-lane freeway. One of the hugest, fastest, most dangerous probably places in the world is that I-10 freeway. Can you imagine sending your child with just their permit and you're sitting next in the passenger seat or sometimes in the back seat? I need you to use this analogy. You go onto that freeway, and if you've never sent them to driver school, if you'd never shown them a book about driving or no videos about the rules of driving, and you just send them onto that freeway to go into that very risky world, right? And all the dangers that exist. They could get in wrecks. They don't know any rules. They don't know any guidelines. That's like sending your kids on the digital freeway when they have no guidance, no guidelines to tell them what to do, no knowledge, no conversation, no book to have read. That's what you're doing when you don't have this conversation with your kids. Now, think about what most of our parents hopefully did is took us when we were 15 years old with our little permit the day we got it to a parking lot and said, okay, when you get here, you take a right, you use your blinker. When you do this, this is how you turn around. You need to back up, look in the mirrors. You're giving them guidelines and having a conversation as to how to drive that car that they just got that license to. So the minute you put this device into their hands or social media, you're sending them on the dangerous freeway if you do not have that parking lot conversation. So I hope everybody, so because people are like, oh, I don't know much about social media. It doesn't matter. Just learn a little bit, Google a little bit, go to ChatGPT, use the AI to find out about more about the social technology and digital technology, and then have the conversation. Don't send your kid
Mhm.
on a dangerous ass freeway without educating them first.
Definitely. And more so because this is becoming so um accessible, like even at a young age, because like my child watches YouTube Kids, but
Yeah.
still there's like stuff that goes through YouTube Kids, and I'm like, what are you watching? Like, what's going on there? And just to kind of backtrack, also, my son then later told his friend when they were having active shooter drills about how there's bad people in the world, and we just need to make sure that we protect our loved ones, and that kind of like carried on through, which was so
That's awesome.
it was great for me because like in my whole family's from India, and in the culture and a lot of cultures, it's like you just shun all these things away, like feelings, mental health, all that kind of stuff, which, obviously we're trying to change those generational trauma, um, or the generational trauma there. But I think that a lot of people are now realizing how these things need to be in conversation, and
Yes.
mental health being one of the big ones too.
Think about this. Think about this, Rashi. This is why our Safe School Institute at Crime Stoppers is so important. You remember stranger danger. You remember stop, drop, and roll. Now we're having first person shooters in school training. Think about that. That is far less probable to happen than somebody trying to sexually exploit your child online,
Yeah, that's true.
right?
Mhm.
Think about how many times you had to stop, drop, and roll in a school. Now
Yeah.
think of all those kids in that same school, how many times they probably had somebody reach out to them on that digital device. The
Mhm.
probability is higher, the amount of the times that it's happening is higher, it's multiple times, and it's more silent. When we have to stop, drop, and roll, we know alerts are going off, or alarms are going off, or we think there's a fire there. But that's why we need to create these alarms on these devices to implant that level of training. It's why the Safe School Institute is so important for every school. And if your school isn't doing it and taking some of the trainings we have at Crime Stoppers, they need to get in touch with us now and make us help us get into those schools.
Yeah, definitely. And I was going to say, and I'm sure you've thought of this and tried to possibly even implement it, but don't you think it would be good if elementary schools had classes that kids had to take, like PE and art, when it
Or
comes
home
to
ec, remember that?
right?
Home ec?
But
Like,
there is now. So we are in kindergarten through 12th grade, and in the lower schools, the elementary schools, you see it worked into the curriculum. It's not like an everyday class, but
mhm.
the counselors are calling Crime Stoppers. The like the PE or the health track
Health,
will
yeah.
us to bring us in, and we talk about. So what do we talk about? What does it mean to be a good citizen and belong to a community? Who's the secrets that are good versus secrets that are bad?
Mhm.
How do you take care of your school? But then also, how do you play safe online, gaming
Yes.
safety, online safety, even relationship issues that turn into, as the kids get older, red flags for exploitation, teen dating violence, trafficking. But we start it's super age appropriate. I mean, you can go to any school where we've been and you'll see that they'll have us come talk to as many elementary school kids as possible. It's very age appropriate. I have kids myself, and we want the content to be age appropriate, but you layer it in young because these children need to hear it. They definitely need to hear it. And we are in Pearland. We're in most schools. We're in over 700 schools across the state, very active in schools. But
Yeah.
your specific school, we can check for you if you send us a private message of where that is.
I have a bunch of followers who are naming their schools that you've been at. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
I think that's awesome, and that's so effective. I wanted to ask you quickly, Jennifer, what you specifically are working on and what you see, because you are an advocate and community leader for victims and survivors of human sex trafficking. And it's just so, I don't even know what to say, but I mean, this is, I guess, just sad that it's happening to children and locally. So can you just explain what you're seeing?
Seeing lots of things. I'm seeing the increase of, as I think back on the boys. So, if you have somebody that's delivering gifts to your son, something's wrong, right? A pair of shoes or something with label or designer. That's something. So we are seeing the increase there. We're seeing more organized crime get involved in the trafficking of children and adults. And what I mean by that is before you felt like it was kind of these traffickers or what we call pimps, like one-offs. They were individual people that were, had 2 or 3 kids or young women that they were trafficking. Now it feels like there's a network. Some liken it to the likes of a cartel. Is it that organized? That's a scary, scary thought that it would be, because they were damn good at doing it with drugs, damn good with doing it at arms. And so if they do, and we lost the war on drugs. So I think that is a scary thing, is that type of organized crime is bleeding into trafficking of children and young people. And adults. And so that seems to be what I see more. I'm also seeing the outskirts of our city, of the metro area, not just the Woodlands or Katy. It's happening out there, but the Victorias, the Angletons, those outer suburb areas that we're seeing those children being brought into what we call the Bissonnette track, or to the inner city to be trafficked. And it's happening online, but then they're bringing them into Houston. So I just had a couple of cases like that. I think that, do I see any new trends in this space? I believe the online proliferation of the internet and digital social media has been happening for a long time. And although we believe that crime, it feels like crime is going down, some of the numbers are saying that, I just continue to think that this problem is bigger, because as many cases as I know, I'm only one person. And there are many, there are quite a few of me out there that are allies to this space. I don't like to call myself an advocate because I'm not a social worker. And so I just think that the community has to rise up. We have to become aware. We have to cover each other's children, treat each other like a village, so that we can stop the trends that are happening.
Yes, definitely. And one of the big solutions is also the free trainings that Crime Stoppers offers. And before we go, which we've already talked for more than 20 minutes, hasn't felt like that at all. But I do want to talk just briefly about your book, Rania, which is out and a great resource. I know, Jennifer, you're all about the book as well when it comes to the online world.
Well, I always,
this book is the book that I'm sing your praises here just a minute, Rania. This is the book. This is the only tool I have when I speak in front of hundreds of thousands of people. This is the tool I have that I say, you need to go read this book. And if you don't believe that you need the methodologies in this book, then I'm going to give you some other books of the horrific stories that are out there. And then you'll come back to this book and implement the methods that Rania gives you. But it is absolutely my main tool. Not even the technology. Bark is great. Bark works for certain things, but it is not preventative and predictive as it needs to be. It needs more maturity, and we need other tools in this space. But the online world is the main tool that I hand out on a regular basis. Sorry, Rania. I just wanted to sing the praises.
It means the world to me. I do. I appreciate it so much. The book was written as a solution. There's so many people that say, technology is bad, dangerous, everybody stay off. Okay, that's great. I'm a mom of 3. It's not realistic. I'll keep my kids completely separated from technology. And I know that bad people find their ways to the greatest kids. Doesn't matter. So I wanted to write an actual resource. It was sort of the what to expect when you're expecting. Every pregnant girl has that. This is sort of the guide for every family to help navigate every aspect of social media. And it ends with 4 power tools that I promise you sound crazy, but if you really look at them and talk to your kids, they will change their behaviors online forever. And I mean, whether they're 8 to 28, whether they're in technology for 5 minutes or 5 hours. So I really appreciate you sharing it. And Jen, you're my number one cheerleader on this, and I will say thank you forever. So.
Oh, thank you. And that what to expect when you're expecting triggered me, because I would watch those videos and the lady, I don't know, she's from like 1980, I don't know. She's like, now your baby is a grapefruit. And I'm like, what? Now it has toes. And oh, you're like freaking out at the same time. Like, now it has his nose and whatever.
We need to do like a what to expect when your teenager turns into a teenager. That's a whole nother one.
I know, I've heard. Well,
what these days, Rashi, I think we're just, I have 24 and 17-year-old boys, and I'm just thankful that they're alive. That really that's the bar that we've got right now, right?
Yeah.
That they haven't been sexually exploited, and that they care about other people, and that that to me is the core of what we need these days, that they look out for each other. And
Yes.
so that's what Runya's book teaches, and it teaches parents to be great digital parents that know what's going on. So keep
And I
reading.
think it's great speaking with, ladies like you who are moms and just so inspirational to like a younger mom like me who has young kids. And it's a scary world out there because there's so many things. I mean, I feel like I would argue you have to be more involved in your child's school than like my parents did,
Oh, yeah.
just because of everything that's happening.
Yes.
And, it's hard, but it's like you said, Jennifer, just raising kind children that care about people. And the bar is at a live right now. I think it's for all of us. We're just kind of like at that point. And I realized that, and I gave myself some grace because I'm like, oh, I'm not doing this and this and this. It's like, it's okay. It's all right.
It's okay.
It's okay. You're alive. They're alive. And
Okay.
And
you'll
we're
make
good. Look, we turned out great.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think we're all kids of immigrants. to
Yes.
some degree.
Oh, really?
So
We are.
it makes it even more interesting. Our parents were not. My mom wasn't homeroom mom, PTA president.
No, neither was
no,
mine.
Not at all.
No.
But to your point, Russian.
Okay, so I had a Caucasian mother, I had an American mother, and Iranian father, and my American mother was involved with like the PTA and stuff like that a little bit, but my father would show up as the Burger King clown during bus stop for my birthday. So I don't know what psycho world y'all lived in, but I lived in quite the crazy parent world.
Mine was very traditional.
Yeah.
And but it's I think there's a respect to that whole part of how they lived, and we're in the transition phase, and now our kids are totally different.
God bless
Yeah.
them all. That's
I
what
know. Well,
Right.
thank you so much, ladies, for taking the time to talk to us, and me and all of us and thank you all for your comments. Yes, dads need to be involved too. David's saying that. So, yep, moms and dads, everyone being involved, grandparents, whoever can be. I think it makes such a big, big difference. So thank you all. And hopefully we'll have Rania and Jennifer back on soon talking about these important issues. And I appreciate all of you joining us for this edition of Parent to Parent. And until next time, we'll